Welcome to 2 Cents. It's been a week, or a little bit less, I guess.
It's always a week.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah,
not
every
the first
every
time around.
Sunday. Every Sunday,
We're
yeah.
trying. We're trying to. I mean, this is as close as we can get to last week tonight. Except we don't do it live. We could do it live. Live
Uh,
podcasts are a thing.
we're not as funny either.
Well, they have a team of writers, and they pull from the actual media.
Though they don't do it live either.
Yeah, they do. Last week tonight is live.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really?
That's why there's a problem. Yeah, it's recorded live in front of a studio audience in New York.
No, like
And
the
that's-
audience, yeah, it's live, but is it broadcasted live?
Yeah, it's broadcasted live. Not obviously on the West Coast. Well, actually, it is if you have a service provider that gives you the East Coast feed. But if you have HBO Now, you can watch it live. That's why on HBO Go you can't. You have to, like I've told you about this before. You have to wait a couple of hours. So I can't watch the latest episode because it's not available yet. It usually goes around like 12:30 or so, just for whatever reason put on the server.
You
But
don't have
everything-
the East Coast channels or anything?
Well, I do. Just I prioritize watching True Detective this week instead. So I'm all caught up. I watched the episode not live, but when it launched or whatever you want to call it.
How many
tonight.
episodes in is it right now?
This was the 7th. It's probably gonna be. It's either gonna be 8 or 10.
Nuts. I think it's 8. My understanding is that's the same length.
I could see the next episode be the last one.
Yeah, how's it going?
It really picked up this episode. A lot of things really came together. Some storylines are getting some closure, and the tensions like ratcheted up. I can't really go into it because a lot of stuff happened this episode. Yeah, it's very dissimilar from last season. Last season really had a mystery, and there is a mystery here as well. It's not as interesting. It doesn't have the whole gothic, weird, supernatural stuff going on with like the underbelly of the church and whatnot in the South. And but this is still pretty interesting. Very more noir than detective, I guess you could say. But yeah, I think it's a misnomer. This isn't. I wouldn't really even call it True Detective because the case isn't what's most important here. It's more like the relationships and the interpersonal demons and things.
Well, I mean, isn't that what you'd say it was for the first one? Because that was the most interesting stuff to me.
It was, yeah.
I didn't really care that much about the mystery, or like I just remember being very underwhelmed by how it ended, and that just made it less of a. It didn't really, I don't know, distill too well in my memory, I guess, because it just was so. Bleh. Yeah.
After we watch it, the leads aren't nearly as good this season. Like Vince Vaughn is good. I read this really funny thing on Twitter. Someone said, "I like to imagine that the second season of True Detective is the sequel to Made." You familiar with this movie? It's Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn.
That's
They
his
team
debut,
up.
right?
No. His debut
It's one of them.
is Swingers. It's like they reteamed
No,
for
directorial
Made.
debut.
Yeah, for Jon Favreau. Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
so.
Swingers
And so-
was Doug Liman, I think.
Yeah, it was Doug Liman, but Favreau wrote it. Anyway, so they reteam for it, and it's about them trying to get into the mafia or whatever, become made men, and this begins with Vince Vaughn trying to get out of being a made man.
So it's a less funny version of that.
I don't know. I turned off
He's
Made the
experienced
first
the
time I
one.
tried to watch it.
Nah, man. You know me and TV. I'm considering getting to it just out of curiosity to at least starting True Detective, but I'm gonna wait till it's over until I really hear what's going on.
It's definitely a slow burn, just like the first season. It burns a lot less hot. I'm sure. Well, I can't say I'm sure, but it seems like Colin Farrell's gonna get nominated. Like he gives a really tour de force performance, like very very edgy.
What about Rachel McAdams?
She's okay.
I
Like,
hear she's
not
the highlight,
She's not bad,
or
but
at least her character is.
her character has a lot too many loopholes for me. Like there's a mystery there just in her character, and all the characters do, all the mains, but hers is, I don't know, feels tacked on a little bit more than Farrell and Taylor Kitsch. So yeah, I watched True Detective. It was my day off, so I did a couple things. I played a little bit of Arkham Knight. I'm like really into that game, really far into it, not into it as in interested, which that's kind of obvious. I'm like 80% completion now. So basically end game stuff. Not much to report there.
You're lucky
Did
you get a day off.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
So that
working.
all I did was play video games and read and watch some TV.
I'm just working every day. The next day that I know that I have off is next Sunday, and even then,
What?
I don't even know. I might be doing some that day too. Yeah, man, I'm working like crazy.
You got white hair now, right? In certain spots, you must, because I do.
My hair is thinning, man. Like,
Well, that's a
I'm
different.
getting creeped out by that. Yeah,
Like I've had a
a lot
receding
of it's probably
hairline
stress.
since like late middle school, early high school. So like my forehead's a six head, basically.
Well, no, you shaved all that off on purpose, right?
Oh,
That
definitely,
sucks.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you can't see it that it's thinning. But no, I get like I find them all the time. Like, you can tell if you're like just touching your hair, because there's like real coarse ones. Sometimes it's like, oh, that's a white one. Like they're not gray, they're white. Pretty scary. Like, the first time I found one, it was probably about 2 years ago. Very shell shocked. I was like, wow,
It's like,
this,
man,
this,
what the hell is happening? We're not supposed to be getting old this fast.
you're right.
Yeah, it
I mean,
feels like
but
I'm 30 already. Like,
we kind of are if you think about it. Like, okay, like we're mid 20s, but once upon a time, mid 20s was like
that was middle aged
Twilight.
at one
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
exactly. Like that is like, well, he's done just about everything he can at this point. Now it's the end of the hill.
That was like the American Revolution, though. At that point, you were expected to die from war too at that time,
Yeah.
and that's a long time ago, man.
Speaking of war, I was playing a Call of Duty today too. Play that a good amount. I'd say I probably play like 6 hours a week with two friends from high school, and I got royalty for assault rifles, which is like a geeky way of saying I play too much. It's like you do all the challenges for that subset of weapons. Felt pretty good.
You know what? I wanted to ask you this last week, but I mean, just how do you find all the time to do this stuff? Like, I mean, you're playing video games and you're watching TV and you're watching movies. I get criticized all the time for watching too many movies. And,
Yeah, I used
for
to,
me,
that used to happen
it's
to me.
yeah, for me, it's probably just because that's my main focus. I don't really play games that often. I rarely do. Most recent thing I played was I just got nostalgic and played Tony Hawk Pro Skater again for a couple hours.
Nice. Which
that
one?
was it. The first one.
Nice.
Yeah, still the best gaming soundtrack of all time.
No, number two has a better soundtrack than the first one.
I'm too attached to the first one.
When Worlds Collide by Power Man 5000 is on the
It's a
second
great
game.
song, man. But yeah, and then as far as TV, just how do you find all the time? Because you're bringing up a bunch of different shows like in our news segment too, and I'm just like I'm thinking in the back of my head like Jesus Christ, I'm not caught up in any of this shit.
Well, I mean, I watch a lot less than I used to, and that it's in part because I have the job now. So like all the movies I watch, are at the theater when I'm not working, whereas it used to be at home, like on Netflix or Amazon or something like that. I don't know. I'm pretty much a homebody. If I don't have plans, I have no qualms of just sitting at home, reading or whatever, playing video games. Like usually playing the games, it's late at night, and it also helps when you got a friend or two, such as I do, who oh, you want to play tonight? It's like, yeah, sure, let's play for a couple hours. Like that's actually what happened right before this recording. Like I played with a friend for about an hour. And another one was supposed to join, but his dumbass, he's the one that tried to instigate the gaming session, and he didn't even join.
And I'm still deciding between whether I should invest in a PS4 and Xbox One in the future because
I would do it.
it's tough because I have friends that have both.
Do the PlayStation 4.
I know I'm going to be moving pretty soon in the future. In about a month, I'm planning on leaving the state.
Don't
Unless
do it
something
now.
falls through. Yeah, but that's the thing is that's just going to be my way of staying in contact with a lot
Yeah,
of people.
it's
and
a great way.
So,
Like think about it this
so
way.
I'm
Okay.
gonna have to start gaming eventually.
Like I said, I play with two friends of mine from high school. When we play for the hour or two or whatever, like most of the conversation is game based. Like, oh, there's someone over there. Like, watch your back, whatever. But we do. It's like hanging out together, but we can't really do that because we're kind of past that point in our lives where we can just hang out because we got nothing to do. So it is kind of our camaraderie, our bonding now, and it's it's through video games. It's like, well, it's $60, and then you pay on PlayStation you pay like $50 for the whole year for the online gaming.
It's the same thing with Xbox, I think.
Yeah, Xbox it's the same. Yeah, it's all about what you want. It doesn't help that Xbox is kind of not failing because they're still making money, but they're losing. Yeah, they're losing the console generation war right now, and they probably will continue to. I was talking about Call of Duty. For the first time in forever, Xbox lost that exclusivity. PlayStation's getting the DLC first, and several other things like that. Like it's a turning point for Microsoft. But they got good things going. Like they just released Windows 10, which is a free upgrade for people that use 7 and 8, and they're trying to make it integrated operating system. So if you're on Windows Phone, a tablet, one of their Surfaces or something else, a laptop, a desktop, or an Xbox One, it's all the same Windows 10 ecosystem. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, my Twitter feed went nuts over it. Like a lot of people are really happy.
Yeah,
So it's a good step.
What I've seen through it looks really cool. The Cortana, their digital voice assistant, kind of like Siri on Apple or OK Google on Android. It's pretty cool, especially because it's tied into Halo and whatever.
It's Cortana.
So I've seen some interesting things on Cortana where like it can give you betting advice for whatever, like horse racing, and it has more of a personality than Siri and Google does. Like Google has no personality. It's kind of boring.
Well,
you can't ask it to tell you a joke.
It's only evolving at this point. I mean,
yeah.
it's pretty much going to be a lot like her. That's where AI is heading.
I don't have a problem with that. People already love their smart devices. Like, it kind of is the evolution that they're going to get better, and we're going to fall in love with them. So
I don't have a problem with that either. I mean, just that little kid in me has always loved the idea of basically getting along with robots. But then, as I got older and I saw Terminator, Skynet's just been scaring the shit out of me. So
yeah, that was probably that was like the best part of Genesis. I liked how they kind of made Skynet more of a credible threat in our future. Like the way that they had it introduced, it was like, okay, well, that could actually happen, not just some fucking Cyberdyne system going online. Like this was, it's some fucking interconnected, web developed, whatever you want to call it, ecosystem.
I mean, as far as AI goes, like I think it's inevitable that it will be on par with us. It's really just going to depend on how we decide to get along with it in the future. But anyway, getting way off topic there.
Yeah, it was good topic. Good topic.
No, it's funny. I mean, this is kind of off topic. One of the scripts that I'm writing, though, does sort of deal with what we just talked about. I got to keep that under wraps anyway, though.
Yeah, see? I'm not even going to look for scraps right now. Yeah. You tried your time last week. No thanks.
Yeah, but you know what? Hey, if anything, this talk's just making me want to dive into that tonight. Although I got another thing I got to work on, including this podcast.
Yeah, I almost wrote last night. I was thinking about it and said I was reading, which is good also because reading helps writing. Not exactly what I was reading though. I was reading some comic books. I finished the first volume of the Scott Pilgrim manga, which was a pretty good read. Very like the exact same tone as the movie. Like if you're a fan of the movie, I know you are.
I love that movie.
You'll like the comics, like same kind of thing, just bigger world because there's more to dive into.
Yeah, no, I know that's one of the most faithful comic book adaptations, if that's the fair word I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's right.
Although I mean, being that I've already seen the movie so many times, I'm sure that I would just be projecting the Edgar Wright isms probably onto it. Or would you say that it's literally a storyboard for the movie?
It's not that far, but like that's how Sin City works. Like that's literally storyboarding for the movie. So is Watchmen.
Watchmen, yeah.
Yeah. Like as far like Zack Snyder saying like we use the comic book as storyboards. It's like, well, that's not
why wouldn't you?
That's not being faithful, that's being lazy.
No, that makes for a source material that's basically considered unfilmable, that makes perfect sense to translate it to a visual medium that moves. I mean, I totally get that.
Comic book panels aren't storyboards. Like there'll be panels where it's just fucking a tree or whatever. I don't know. They're similar graphic mediums.
I mean, they take shots from it, but it's not like every single shot syncs up from the book to the movie. For the most part, it's seamless, but it's different enough. It's the same. The graphic novel is the skeleton for the movie.
Yeah, so
visually speaking.
besides reading Scott Pilgrim, I also finished the first volume of this book called Sex Criminals, which was actually really good. I can't remember the name of the author right now. Um, I should look it up. Anyway, it apparently is being developed for TV. Really interesting concept. Basically, there's this girl who she finds out when she has an orgasm, time stops. Something that she calls the quiet. And then through the next couple issues, like, it has some really interesting timeline story. Like, the way it's told is really interesting. Like, it's like in the past and the present, breaking the fourth wall. And so she meets someone else who has the same ability, except like when he comes, his dick glows for as long as he can stay in this time stop dimension. So very interesting, really, really funny.
Sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it's really good. Like, it's definitely a good read. The first volume's only 5 issues, but yeah, I think that those first 5 issues would make for a really good television show, and obviously someone else does because, like I said, it apparently is in development.
Really?
Not sure
With
how
what,
it
like
would work.
Netflix or HBO?
No, from
It
what I
can't be
read,
on network television.
no, yeah,
No
from
way.
what I read, it was gonna be on a network.
MTV maybe or
No,
CW, something like that. I
I
could
don't
see
know. I think it was NBC.
that. Okay, well.
Who knows? The fucking The Bachelor is on network TV, so that show's literally about who can get into this girl's pants. Basically,
Yeah, but is it as graphic though? Like,
I don't know.
I mean,
It's not.
it
It's
might
not
be
that
more,
graphic. Like
it implies more. I mean, that sounds like a '90s sitcom premise right there.
the comic wasn't that graphic. It's not like there's like sex scenes. You know, it's like all under wraps or under blankets rather. But there is like scenes that take place in a sex shop that just couldn't work for like the jokes in the background. But you know, I have those same reservations about Preacher, and that's on basically basic. You know, it's on basic cable, so
God, how long do we
who
have
knows?
to wait for that?
It's soon. I'm sure the pilot will leak
probably gonna be
any
this-
month now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pilot season.
I really hope it doesn't get a season order.
Hey, what if it's good though?
It can be good, but
I want it to be good. I mean, I know
from
that
what I already know,
Rogan
it's
and
not.
Goldberg, I know
It's already
that
off.
I know that makes you hesitate, but anything that those guys do, I'm looking forward to it right away. So
Okay, well, talking about them,
Yeah.
did you see the trailer for the new movie the night before?
I did.
I didn't. I avoided it. I want to see it in theaters.
I saw it in theaters, man. Looks funny. Really, that's all I got to say there. I'm hoping it's good.
I checked my email, like my account that I never use. I got invited to a preview screening for it on Thursday. I was like, should I do it? But then I was like, no, I don't want to do that because it can't be finished. I don't know. I'm sure the movie's gonna be fine. It's just I don't want it. You know, talk about this during Vacation and Trainwreck, I believe. I hate watching trailers for comedies because I know the jokes are coming, and I don't want that to happen, especially for a Rogan movie.
I mean,
So.
for me, it depends on the joke and if I'm enjoying the movie. And you know, it's like when you watch a comedy again, you know, you like seeing the joke again. So if you liked it in the trailer, there's no reason really for it not to work. I mean, even look at Pixels. The one joke that I really really liked with the creator of Pac-Man,
Yeah.
that I saw that so many times in trailers,
Still funny.
and it was way funnier in the movie because it
Way
was
funny.
slowed down and it was just hammed up way more.
You're
So,
a good boy.
but then again, I just was so miserable during the rest of that movie that maybe I was just looking forward to a little bit of humor, even if I had already seen it.
I mean, you got to get laughs somehow. Something that's pretty funny. Shaft is getting another remake. Have you seen either the original or the Christian Bale one?
You mean Sam Jackson?
Well, yeah, he's in it too.
Oh,
When I think of
No,
that
no, no,
movie,
I have-
when I
I
think of that
haven't.
movie, I think of Christian Bale.
I haven't. I need to. I think Shaft is on my list of shame.
I haven't
The
seen the original. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Like, it mega hit, especially for blaxploitation. But yeah, they're making another one, and the Blackish showrunner, I guess, is writing it. I don't get it. I think I don't know.
Shaft was a cultural phenomenon for the time, so what would make that work today?
That's what I'm saying. Like the
Then
2000
again-
version sucked.
then
It was
again,
really bad.
I don't know. What's the appeal in it today?
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I guess you have some strong black man fighting the system and taking down Whitey.
Yeah, which I guess that was especially a big deal back then. I guess.
I mean, it still is now.
Yeah, unfortunately, like you can't say we're really in a post-racial society, at least not all over America, there's still some parts where,
Well, I mean, not even America, just the world. Look at Africa. They don't care about the black people getting killed. They care about their lions. So,
what are you gonna do?
it's Beast of No Nation, which just so happens to be the title of the Netflix movie coming out. Have you heard of this?
No.
No, it's Cary Fukunaga, the guy that directed the first season of True Detective and also Jane Eyre, Sin Nombre.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's being released on Netflix. Has Idris Elba in it. I think it's about warlords in Africa. It's pretty interesting because it's going to be released theatrically in landmark theaters the same day it streams, so it can be in consideration for the awards.
Wasn't Netflix also doing something similar with the sequel for Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon?
Yeah, that's different though. And I don't know what theater chains that's coming. That's actually coming out real soon. But there was like
Yeah.
big backlash behind that, whereas this was just people aren't interested. Because I know Amazon's doing something similar for their Chirac, the Spike Lee movie, because that's going to be their first theatrically distributed feature. That's later this year.
I mean, it doesn't seem like it'll get a major release, will it? Like I'm
No,
guessing a bunch
no.
of yeah.
Yeah, Landmark is a small chain. It's owned by like Mark Cuban and someone else. They
Oh,
don't have that many
it's
locations.
just that chain?
Yeah, I believe it's just them. Like they struck up a deal. But yeah, October 16th is when it streams. It's the same day it's gonna be in theaters, and it's probably only gonna have like the most limited range it can, like the smallest possible to be under consideration. I think it's like a week and a half or something. I doubt many
Probably
people are gonna
just
see it.
Probably not on screen unless it happens to be really good.
It might be good. You know, Idris Elba's good, and so is Curry.
I don't know how it doesn't. I'm just hearing the name Cary Fukunaga. I don't see how that's an audience movie. So
Yeah. Well, no,
theatrically probably won't do well.
Sin Nombre is really good. I highly recommend that.
I missed it out. Yeah.
Yeah, really good movie. I haven't seen the Jane Eyre. I plan to. I know it's still on Netflix. I'll watch it eventually. It's just, we got into
You want
this
to get
other
to
day.
the other app? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really do Victorian era romance. It's kind of boring.
It depends.
But, Fassbender's in it, so
yeah.
that it might be good. It's supposed to be good.
You watch anything else this week?
No, I mean, pretty slow week for watching.
Oh yeah, I saw. We talked about Bollywood last week.
Did you watch something?
I kind of did. I saw. This is called Bahubali: The Beginning. It's the first of a two-part epic series that's supposed to be coming out, and it's the most expensive movie that has ever been made in India.
Yeah, I heard about this.
Yeah, I think it's something at like $45 million, and which, not that much money here, but for them it's still a lot because I think the highest that they usually go is like 25 mil. I read in an article, and it's already the third biggest movie ever in India. I guess it's technically not a Bollywood film, and I don't know how the industry works over there, but it's a Telugu epic. I guess Bollywood is that's exclusive to Bombay, or it depends on where you're making it. I don't know how that
Mumbai?
or yeah,
I don't know.
it's Mumbai or Bombay. I do not know my geography around India, but evidently. I don't know. I guess they're competitors. Bollywood's that's the popular term that's known here that represents all of Indian cinema, but it is from India. And this movie is fucking crazy, dude. Like, wow. It's
like what I said it was, right? There's like violence and people dying, and then they start breaking out into song and dancing.
It is ridiculous. I kind of
really
really enjoyed it.
romance.
I mean, and here's the thing. The theater that I went at, they only have, it's an 8-screen, but for this movie they only had 2 showings a day. So that's a sign of, okay, it's not going to be that big or that full.
But it was packed, wasn't it?
We're in
you
the
went
US.
Did you go to the Irvine College Theater?
I went, no, the one that's farther down away from it. I went there, yeah. But it was a really packed room. And, interesting experience too, because I'm pretty sure I was the only white guy there too.
Yeah, probably.
Which... as far as audience etiquette, there were little kids there too, and they were like cheering and raising their hands at very specific moments, and I thought that was kind of cool because it is like I'm seeing that, and it's probably this is a little kid's Lord of the Rings experience probably somewhere out there, because the movie is for what it is. There's CGI in places, and we're very very accustomed to it looks fake and it's not going to be strong over there, but it's pretty fucking epic. There's some stuff that is so cheesy and so over the top that you can't help but laugh. at how ridiculous it is. I mean, just even, the lead character, basically he's Superman. He's just fucking defying all the laws of physics. In fact, I read that the title Bahubali itself literally translates out to
Superman.
strong man. I mean, like, this guy's basically the ultimate badass, and he just smiles and looks good for the camera. He's got his shirt up. He's basically, he's supposed to be an icon. He's basically godlike the whole time in every move that he does. And it looks so fake while he does it, but I can't help but laugh at it. What's also interesting, though, is that there was a disclaimer at the beginning of the movie saying any animals in this movie that were, are killed in the frame, they're not real, they're all CGI effects. And, I guess, that, they don't want people to worry about that. But then when you see the kills in the actual movie, every time there's a CGI animal in the frame, at the bottom of the corner, there's a watermark that specifically says which shots are CGI. I
Oh,
mean, and yeah, which, didn't bother me, but it did get me thinking how interesting that was, because here specifically,
yeah.
you've heard me complain about how some movies, there's just so much CGI in there, and I'm just not believing what's happening, and I'm numb to it. And I don't know if, for India, I don't know if that's down there for, legal reasons, if people are just more sensitive to animals being killed or whatnot, because it was only for the shots when there's an animal in the frame. And, and it's digital. And I don't know. I mean, part of me is just thinking, well, maybe it's because, at least in other parts of the world, they're not as used to seeing CGI like most of us are here. So to
Maybe.
them, they'll react to it like it's real, and it will look real. And it does not look as good as stuff from Hollywood. But, I mean, this did have me thinking of, well, there's a lot of blockbusters are doing much better in China than they are here. And, maybe just the American moviegoer is not Hollywood's main aim anymore, because we're not as impressed by stuff. Maybe the rest of the world, to them, this stuff looks legit,
Oh,
which
that
I find that very interesting.
that is a good conversation to have. Just maybe not today, but the fact that there's
No,
so
why
many.
not?
Well, I'm just saying the fact that there's so many big blockbusters that were released internationally before they come to America now. You got Age of Ultron, Terminator, I believe Age of Extinction, Furious 7. Shit, Furious 7 even had a 3D release everywhere except here. So there's lots of examples of where it's like they care obviously about maybe not India, but China, Germany, Australia, whereas it used to be such a long wait for them to get it. Because you look at something like Trainwreck, where that's still getting, it's a small movie. That's still not a lot of places. Like Judd Apatow tweets or pictures of the posters, like in Romanian and whatnot. But yeah, we're definitely becoming less of a factor in terms of the money, because we are numb to it, and we kind of established that during our Mission Impossible review.
I mean, yeah, that totally kind of sucks for us here, but at the same time, I just think it's really awesome that there's still, there's always this debate of like, oh, is cinema dead or blah, blah, blah. We're just getting more towards TV. It's just kind of awesome to think about that somewhere else around the world, there's people that are still, really into this stuff and believing this stuff. But then again, when we're complaining about CGI, we always have to keep in mind, well, that's the film buffs. Those are the cinephiles, the people that watch this shit every day. There's still, in my theater, there were people that were just absolutely wowed by Jurassic World, and you could hear it in the crowd. And even though I was just kind of sitting there going, it looks fucking lame, it's shittier effects than the original and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I did think that was a cool thing to think about, that people are still into it and that the illusion is working on somebody. It's a bummer for me, but I think that's awesome to think about.
I mean, the power of cinema to wow an audience is pretty interesting. The spectacle on screen, especially because it literally is larger than life when it's up there, and that's the power of seeing something at the theater. But yeah, I haven't been wowed since like Avatar.
For me, it was probably Interstellar, but it's just great to hear that cinema is not dead, at least not
Not
as much
yet.
as we want to proclaim it. Even just the spectacle, as even Mission Impossible, there was stuff in there that I was wowed by. The
Yeah.
whole movie, not necessarily, but I was impressed, and it did. There were some really cool stuff, so I can't complain too much. But hey, if someone's gonna have a similar experience to Terminator Genesis in China, then you know,
Genesis.
I forgot. I threw away the sound clip. But yeah, if someone else is gonna have like that little kid during Bahubali, those
Yeah.
kids plural, because there were a lot of them.
It must be
Yeah,
amazing to be a kid growing up right now. Just imagine what it's like, because CG was like nothing when we were growing up.
no,
Like
it
we're
was used
looking at
for like
like
little
yeah,
things.
or like look at Casper. Like that was like a big thing. You know, it's like look at that fucking CGI kids. We brought the ghost to life, and
You
then he
know,
turns into Devon Sawa at the end.
I still think that that Jar Jar looks pretty good.
No, yeah, Jar Jar looks good.
I think it looks dated, but I still think it holds up.
Yeah,
Like
Jar
for
Jar
the
looks
most part,
good.
yeah.
So does Yoda in Phantom Menace.
Yeah, a couple things I want to bring up about Bahubali. There was an intermission at my
Great.
theater, which
That's awesome.
I found that interesting. Yeah, because and that never happens. Like
It
right when
should
the movie
happen.
yeah, that there was like a Regal logo in the middle with the intermission thing, and that never happens. And that I'm just kind of thinking,
Why do we get rid of that?
yeah, like
Think about how much more popcorn they would sell.
seriously, like I would love to see and I haven't popped in the Blu-ray yet, but I did order the Kingdom of Heaven Blu-ray. I told you about that, and
It
I want to
should have
rewatch that at some point.
intermission.
Yeah, it does have the roadshow version in there, and I've always loved that about that movie specifically, and I thought that's how it should have been released, is that it works like an old-fashioned epic.
Uh-huh.
And like, I'm gonna get to that soon. Actually, I want to watch it right now,
I
but
mean, Grindhouse basically had an intermission because it had
it had the
the
trailers,
trailers in between.
Yeah, but if you were enjoying that movie, you were not gonna go to the bathroom. You were
No,
gonna stay and watch that
but
shit.
like it had to build an intermission. But like you look at, I mean, it probably happened because just they stopped making musicals, and musicals kind of had intermission because they were based on the 2-act structure from plays. But then also film goers stopped being nicotine fiends, so we no longer needed a smoke break, which is also something borrowed from the musical theater. But yeah, they should bring her back, especially
Yeah.
for something huge. Like, why do we need 2 parts to a big movie like Breaking Dawn or Harry Potter 7 or The Avengers? Why not just
Why?
give us 2 hours? We get an intermission, then we get another 2 hours.
Well, because money. That's why.
Well, yeah, because of money, but
Yeah. And
it,
hey, the shorter that the movie is, then the quicker that you can throw
yeah,
another showtime in there, and then
yeah,
the quicker
I know
you can
this,
get more
but
people in. And our today we all have short attention spans. You
yeah,
know?
we're stupid.
Yeah.
Here's another idea. You know why they're called trailers? Because they used to come after the film. They trailed the film. They used to be called coming attractions. Why don't we do that again for 2 reasons? One, the show actually starts when it's supposed to begin. And 2, people will actually stay through the credits for the under the line people
That
because
is
they.
not going to happen.
I know
And
that
I'll
it's not
tell
going to
you
happen,
why.
but people
Because
stay
we
for
all
the
have
movies
cell
anyway.
phones. We all have cell phones, and we can watch trailers
I
on them.
know. If we can
So
watch
that's
trailers,
never going to happen.
why don't they put them after the movie then? Because think about how many people stay for the credits anyway now for so many movies. I'm not even talking about the huge ones, obviously, like the comic book properties, but like Minions and Despicable Me. I stay for almost every movie now, just because, not even for after credits sequence, just because out of respect for the people that don't get any notice. Like the assistant to the third CGI company that worked on it in China. Those people that, to them, it seems like they're making it a big deal, and most film goers don't give a shit because they're not in the opening credits.
I don't always stay, and I know that there's all those names later, and I respect that, but at the same time, I got places I gotta go because I'm staying busy all the time. But usually, if I sit through the credits of a movie, it'll be
Yeah.
either because I was just so wowed and so floored by it that I just kind of want to sit there and keep taking it in, or it's because I love the score and I just want to keep on listening to the music as the credits are playing. Last time I did that, I think it was Mad Max Fury Road.
I'm sad that's not in theaters anymore.
Well, it's been it's already on VOD. I think you can buy it on digital right now.
Yeah, it's good. I was
It's gonna
happy.
be on Blu-ray next month.
Yeah, I was happy to find out it's gonna be on 3D Blu-ray because the first time I checked on Amazon, it just said Blu-ray. I guess fucking
Yeah, now it's
Warner Brothers
official.
got their act together and they decided to release a 3D version.
Fewer of those are happening too. Like I have to get imports from the UK if I want to get some stuff in 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause, I mean, I
it's
know they're pricey, and that's why no one buys them.
again, not that big in the U.S.
I don't know why they cost so much more than a standard Blu-ray. It seems like the only distributor
What?
that really does it is Disney. It's, you get the 3D, you get the regular Blu-ray, you get the DVD, plus you get the fucking soundtrack on a CD.
No, they're like $5 more, I guess, because you're paying extra for the disc. You get everything else, and then that disc is a little more. I like to wait until usually until like Black Friday or something. Yeah, or it's $20, or I use Price
Speaking of
Blink.
Amazon, I'm sure you saw that they got the Top Gear host for a new show.
Go on
Sounds
about
like
this.
sounds like no. So you know what Top Gear is, right? The
Yeah,
widely
I do.
successful BBC show about
I've only watched a
automobiles.
couple episodes. Yeah.
It's a great show, has a huge audience. A lot of it's on Netflix or Amazon Prime. So yeah, Amazon got them to do a new show. It's going to be happening sometime soon, and it's like this could be a momentum shift for the streaming industry, just because Netflix is kind of seen as the golden child. And it's like, well, yeah, sure, Amazon got the Golden Globes for Transparent, but like this is a huge deal, especially since it's not scripted. Like Netflix has their Chelsea Handler talk show like coming sometime soon. They did their press conference, not press conference, like their summit or whatever last week, and it seems like it's going to happen sometimes in the next year. Whereas like regardless of when Top Gear happens, that's a lot of Prime memberships that are going to be sold. Like that's a huge audience.
I mean, I'm not, I can't say I'm surprised by this just because it's, I guess something has to do it first.
Yeah, like I knew someone was gonna
But
get
it's a
them.
big
Just
step. Like,
I could picture, because Amazon has to do this eventually. I can picture you watching a show through Prime, and then a little pop up happens on the bottom of the screen. It's like, do you like this muffler on this car? Click here now to buy it.
that sounds fucking annoying, though,
That
too.
doesn't
That's
sound
like,
annoying. That would be
I,
awesome if it was the right show. Think
I,
like
maybe. I mean, if you're watching the show, and yeah, I guess that's the interactive experience. Yeah, that works. But, yeah, for something like that, that's not narrative based. Actually, I take that back. That sounds good. Just when you said that, I was thinking of how when you're watching a movie on Netflix, then right when the credits start, there's that stupid
no,
thing that
fuck
just
that
pops
bar.
up.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah, and
can't get out of that thing, so you have to
and
exit and then watch the movie again.
sometimes it does it right before the credits start too, and it's just like fucking sucks you out of it. Like
Yeah, you get
you
that
could be
little, you see that little fucking box that you're supposed to be watching the credits on. Or even worse when it says, "Are you still watching Netflix?" So this is kind of related to Netflix. Well, it's definitely related. Stars, they're trying to make moves right now because they're trying to stay relevant. Showtime, they signed the deal with Hulu, so that's kind of a big thing. They also signed the deal with PlayStation. But Stars, they announced that two of their shows are going to be joining the binge model. They have Da Vinci's Angels and Demons, or I think it's just called Da Vinci's Demons. I don't know. I don't watch that show. And there's something else. So yeah, you have a
is it
premium
Black
cable.
Sails or
No, not Black Sails. It's something else. I can't remember. You have a premium cable subscriber joining the binge model. Like that's a pretty big deal. Like they've kind of, drawn their white flag and said this is what people want. Their big show's not getting it. What's it called? Outlander. Because apparently the production on that show is way too long for them to be able to get away with binging.
well, I mean, this is the way I see it, it's probably a good thing for Hulu because I mean, with CBS already starting their own platform, and it's I don't know if it hasn't happened already. NBC and Fox and every one that they get their shows from, they're not going to be giving it to Hulu that much longer. So
Well, they've been
Hulu's
doing
got to
that since
find a way
forever.
to.
They all have their own service. Like Fox, they have their own Fox app, and so does NBC, and so does ABC. Like
Yeah, do they have
ABC's,
their own streaming service?
yeah, they have, well, not a service, but they have their own websites.
Like, I mean, they're
It's
gonna
like
need that for the network,
watchcw.com.
though.
Yeah, I mean Hulu doesn't get everyone. I don't believe they get Fox actually, or maybe it's ABC. They don't. No, they get Fox. They don't get NBC. They don't get. Maybe it's ABC. I don't know. I can't remember. They don't get someone, and you have to go to their own proprietary website. But yeah, it's definitely changing. There's like this big thing that happened this week. Dish announced that their Sling TV service, their over-the-top box that I've mentioned before, their basically internet live streaming TV service, that they're not having their commercials shown on NBC stations. which is a problem because Comcast owns NBC, and Comcast is a competitor for their device or their service rather. Right? So yeah, they're trying to make a big problem out of this. I wouldn't be surprised if the FCC got involved, just because that's it's like unlawful, whatever you want to call it. Like you're not advertising the competition. So like I see direct TV commercials even though I have Dish Network. I don't give a fuck because I already have something similar, but it's still there. And it's the same thing, I see Dish Network commercials even though I already have them, but it's there. And so I'm sure there's going to be a big problem with this because that's kind of where our future is going in terms of unlawful business practices. And you have to have like an open industry like that.
I really. How do you think it's going to go down? I mean, just this whole thing with cable and everything getting more geared towards the internet. Like,
Well, it has to.
it seems like the basics of it are. It's just going to be the same as it is with cable, except just
internet.
You have a package and you buy it all online. Like I
No,
can't.
I think it's
I can't
like,
see separate subscriptions like Netflix being $7.99 for long. They've already said that they're gonna. We're expecting
raise
price
it.
hikes to
Yeah.
happen at some point.
It should be. They can definitely get away with $9.99. That's not a big jump.
Well, it's probably going to be something like you buy a cable package or a streaming package where you get access to all these platforms.
No,
And
I
then
mean
there's
I
lifestyle.
think it's
That's my guess.
I think the two big ones right now are Sony's PlayStation Vue and Dish Network Sling. Sling is kind of like what you mentioned, where you have to pay like a base fee and then you get a certain amount of channels. Okay. Whereas PlayStation Vue is a little different. First off, you can only kind of watch it on. I believe the only service you can watch it on is PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. Yeah, you have to use the PSN, I believe. Which I'm sure will change if it's still kind of in beta right now. It's only available in certain metropolitan areas. It's like Philadelphia, Chicago, New York, San Francisco, LA. Maybe Denver as well. I can't remember. And so yeah, they just introduced that they have a partnership with Showtime, but it's like if you're a PlayStation Plus member, it's $9.99 a month. If you're not, or no, $8.99. If you're not, I think it's $12.99. And it's kind of like a pick and choose, and they have things that are kind of geared towards their audience. So there's like Comedy Central, I don't fucking know, like MTV, NBC, like all the major networks and whatever. And you can kind of pick what's on the guide, I believe. I kind of want to download the app and use the 30-day trial just so I can understand how it works. But the idea is that you make your own package. And you only, like, you have the same fee anyway, but you can add on money for more things.
You just decide what you want.
Yeah, you decide what you want. I think that's what it's going to be. It's going to, because it doesn't make, like, having cable doesn't make sense. Like, paying the $40.
To all these channels that you don't want.
Exactly. There's like,
and that is the thing. We're a much more selective audience now. Like we
look at the way Twitter
stuff
works.
is being catered to like your specific wants because everything is so diversified.
It's like Twitter. You follow who you want, and then you get whatever you want to read from those people. Yeah. Why does it make sense that? And that's how the internet is. You only frequent the websites that you care about. Why doesn't it make sense that our media interests would be the same? You make your instant queue on Netflix. They kind of pick what they think you're going to like, across the board. Spotify, whoever.
I could absolutely see that happening.
So it's the next logical step because it used to be, like I've said this before, the term cord cutter is what they call people that jump from cable or satellite to internet only, whereas we're not cord cutters. Our generation, millennials, never had a cord at all. All of our entertainment's been through the internet, and so they have to attract us a certain way.
Well, we've grown up with it though, with the cord. I mean,
we didn't pay for it. That's what I mean. Like that's the important part. So, but it's definitely going to change. It's going to change fast, and I mention this like every week. It seems like VR, and there's a reason this time. Nokia just announced that they're joining the game. Like they have their own camera system. So, there's a whole bunch of people now. Yeah, HTC Vive, which is partnership with Valve. You have the Sony Project Morpheus. Obviously, the Oculus Rift, which is owned by Facebook, Nokia, and then a couple other people that you've never heard of. There's startups. Oculus just showed their a trailer for their first IP that seems interesting. It's about like a hedgehog that's sad because everything he touches pops because he has spikes. I don't know. It's going to be really exciting, and I think once VR becomes a thing that lots of consumers have access to in the next year, that's when the over the top is going to really change. Because since you're stuck with this thing on your face, they're going to have to find ways to implement the media through the device, and so you're not going to be able to plug a cable setup straight into your eye. So
A lot of this stuff, it's crazy. There's a lot of it's overwhelming. I'm not gonna lie, because I mean, what you're bringing up, and it might sound potentially dangerous, but I mean, honestly though, it's really exciting to seeing our media shifting this way. Just I really wonder what this is gonna be like 5 years from now.
it's going to be
If
very
all this stuff
different.
works,
I think
yeah. I
because
mean, technology is just moving so
it's
fucking
going to
fast.
be it's going to be different 1 year from now because that's when it's going to be available from lots of sources. But in the 5 years that you're
Yeah,
projecting,
where it's being
it's
used
going
and
to
it's
be
already
crazy.
normalized.
Like I
People
do
are
not,
building stuff.
as much as it would sadden me, I don't think that theater going is going to really exist in 5 years. I think that VR is going to take off crazy, like astronomically well. Like it's going to be one of those things where you can't find a unit, okay? And because of that, it's just going to go boom 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 and you're going to be able to buy the movies for your VR devices on that Friday. You're gonna have a rent system just in the same way that you do via VOD. You're just gonna go, yeah, I want to see that, and then you get 24 hours to.
Well, I want to say don't count out the theater experience yet, because you never know. I mean,
I think it's gonna be a niche.
I think one thing you can count on is that we'll get less crap in theaters, like absolutely. But I mean, how often is it like? You can probably say this for like 5 movies a year. Like how many times you see a movie that is that's specifically made to be experienced on the big screen?
Yeah, about five.
Like, there's not that much. A lot of stuff you could just be like, oh, I'll wait for rental. It'll be on TV. It looks the same as, visually the TV show that I'm watching anyway. So, I mean, if
I mean that
anything,
number. Maybe that's the reason why Disney's stepping up their game because of these fears that we're talking about right now. Because they're gonna they have about one Marvel movie every year, like 2 Pixar movies a year, 1 Star Wars movie. That's
which
like
just demands to be seen on a big
exactly.
screen.
That's what I'm
Like,
saying.
especially
Those are
from J.J.
4 big
Abrams.
movies, but the problem is it doesn't have to be on the big screen if you have a head-mounted display, which gives you the premiere seat on a small screen on your eyes.
Yeah, but you don't have the audience experience there though, and
That's a
that
bad
is
thing,
something.
though. Like we've talked about, it's a good thing and a bad thing.
Oh, no. If you have annoying people, yeah, it's a bad thing. If you have people that want to be there, like that's
Which seems like it never happens now for me.
yeah. I mean, it's rare. Like I think I can only count on the having good people in a theater if I go to the New Beverly now during a sold out screening, which. I did do that last week. I did see The Good, Bad, and the Ugly on 35, and it was fucking amazing. But, I mean, that is, I've just going there, like, I'm trying to do that more and more now before I leave, because going with an audience, just having that communal experience, I know that is so rare now, and I enjoyed it so much.
Well, I mean,
these
you're
past few
going
times I'm going.
to
Yeah.
Texas. They have the Alamo Draft House. It's not going to
Yeah,
be
they
that
do.
rare, which is better than the New Beverly, as far as I understand it.
Well, yeah,
If
I
no
mean,
other reason than that they have beer on tap.
Hey, yeah,
And
but,
Mondo
New Beverly,
posters.
that's a place that it's small and it has its own charms though.
Yeah.
It's
But,
not
like,
the Alamo Draft House.
that even both of those theater, they're not the multiplex where you have. I saw families bringing their 5-year-olds to vacation this week, and one of them I said, were you sold the right ticket? Are you seeing this? They're like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay, theater 18. Go do that. I know people do that. My parents were one of those people, but I don't want to go see a hard R film in an audience that has people that age.
Hey, I mean, to be fair, I didn't enjoy that movie at all, and if I saw those jokes when I was 5 years old, I probably would have laughed at them.
Yeah, well,
I probably
would have laughed at
found
anything
Christina
at that age.
Applegate puking her guts out on that obstacle course. I would have found that hilarious when I was 5. So, in a way, it's appropriate. That's an R-rated movie made for 5-year-olds.
I guess. Well,
Yeah. No, but I mean,
Sad.
I know what you mean though. But
The
that's a whole
seniors,
different issue.
I know it's a different issue, but I would rather stay at home for the movies that I don't care about and watch them from the comfort of my couch or my bed than have to deal with the old people in the front row checking their phone. Because I can only shout at them so often. I do it probably every other time it happens. And I have a fear that I'm going to either get in a fist fight or get thrown out of a theater or something like that.
And
Like,
especially at your own theater, you
yeah,
don't want to cause trouble because
exactly.
even
I
when you're
don't.
not on the clock, you
Yeah,
can still
well,
get in trouble there.
well, see, when I'm not on the clock and I'm sitting at a show and I see someone, either talking down low or moving around or, like I said, on their phone, which is the inexcusable excuse, I do speak up because no one else ever does. It's not bullying or anything. I just go, hey, you down there. Everyone can see that screen. And if they keep doing it, I'll do it again because. And I think the reason is because I didn't pay.
You know what I love is I think I wish I could. I just had like some I don't know some old person or my grandpa or somebody that I could just watch movies with all the time because every time that someone says shut off your phone, if it's a senior that does it, then they will fucking listen because no one wants to mess with old people.
I
But
guess.
like if
Maybe I
I
should
do
start
it,
using
then
a old person voice.
yeah, if I do it, then people will start just getting defensive about it. Like, oh fuck you. Like, no, I'm
Yeah.
not doing it. So, and like even if I like try, the best shot I have is asking them nicely, and that tends to work
No.
out. But then, I don't really get agitated until like my third or fourth time, where I just say, please put it away, and then they really just start getting defensive about it. Like, they're fucking. It's so fucking important for them to have it out, like to them.
It doesn't matter what it is. It can't be more important than the experience that everyone else paid for. Period.
Like it's fucking ridiculous.
It's like they're whatever. We're getting off topic. It's not newsworthy.
We're on a
Some
lot of topics.
Something that is kind of worthy. I'm sure you read this thing, or maybe you saw the source material on the Daily Show that J.J. Abrams apparently broke his back at the same time Harrison Ford broke his ankle on the set of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Do you
Which,
believe that? Because I kind of do, but I don't.
dude, you know what? I don't care. I mean, it's an awesome story anyway.
It is a
I mean,
good story.
like, and I buy it just because I buy JJ's enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Whenever he's enthusiastic about something, that I could believe the dude's fucking crazy enough to try to save Harrison Ford. And why the fuck wouldn't you want to do that?
Maybe he's
Like,
just so excited all the time. That's why his camera is shaky. It's like he
yeah, it's
can't.
very
He doesn't.
frenetic.
He
I
doesn't.
don't. I've never had a problem with shaky cam, and maybe I like the frenetic style. I like when Michael Bay does it. I like when it's done. I think there's a way to do it well instead of just cutting all over the place.
I just
which
hope it
is-
doesn't happen in
It
Star
seems to be
Wars.
that's how people mimic it. But then again, I don't have ADD, but I talk
I
real fast.
I
And I get
think
excited
it
real quick. So
works.
maybe that's me.
It works in Star Trek. I don't think it will in Star Wars, and I hope that Kathleen Kennedy didn't make it happen. I hope she.
You know what? It's. I mean, it's clear right away from the first trailer. It was obvious that this was going to be a J.J. Abrams film, and that's what I'm looking forward to. The fact that Star Wars happens to be the world that he's pointing his camera at, I'm cool with that. I mean, I'm not expecting this to be a carbon copy of the old movies. I'm expecting it to be his take on it.
or Carbonite copy.
Sure, if you want to do that. I mean, the fact that, I'm sure that he'll restrain himself. He's already toning back on the lens flares and whatnot, but you can see his style in the trailers right away, and you can also see how it's faithful to the look of the older films. So, it'll be fine. It'll feel new, it'll feel different, but at the same time, it'll still be Star Wars. And
Yeah.
I'm cool with that, I mean, I'm not gonna, I don't know, I'm not going to rip into this guy's style just because, and people love to do that. People love to bitch about the lens flares, and they always do that when they figure out what someone's, what's part of their style, just the constant reoccurring thing that pops up. Everyone loves to bitch about it all the time, and, I don't like getting conversations like that. The lens flares in Star Trek, they don't bother me. In fact, I thought that was an
No, it worked
interesting
good.
aesthetic choice. Yeah,
It
it
worked really
works
well.
there. If you keep drawing attention to it, then I mean, yeah, you're just kind of setting it up so that you can find things to be annoyed at on purpose. So if I see any in Star Wars, I mean, I'm not gonna watch the movie just to look for them to see if they're there. And if they are there, I'm sure it'll be for a good reason.
I mean, usually the thing for me with lens flares is it's kind of the way, even in video games, it's the way of the makers to go, yeah, we made that happen. Like it's usually pretty obvious because you kind of, it's a fuck up unless it's obvious or not obvious. Like it's an artistic choice, but if you don't do it on purpose, then it's a mistake.
I do think though it seems like this is true with every generation of filmmakers is that since film has been around, there have always been mistakes. But yet for the people that are growing up, watching these things, they tend to love those mistakes. I mean, that kind of, in a way, this kind of relates to film, like, it's the format itself, is that some people, they embrace the flaws of it, the little anachronisms, and because they grew up with it, it's kind of a comforted thing. And, and it's also like that with, directors can be frustrated that they didn't make the movie that they wanted to make, but for an audience that doesn't know what the fuck happened that they wanted on set, or, I can't think of a specific movie right now, but you know what I mean? Like if they wanted something different on production and they had to compromise for something else, then their artistic vision wasn't realized, but still you end up fucking loving the movie. And that, you tend to love whatever's thrown, like whatever's right in front of you, even if it's not the perfect thing that the makers wanted to realize. You tend to embrace the flaws for what they are.
Yeah. Do you even want to talk about Michael Moore's new doc, or do you not give a shit? Because I don't.
Uh, he's got a new documentary.
Yeah, it's coming out soon. All that you know so far is a title. It's called Where to Invade Next, and it's about like, yeah, how governments have to constantly have a target for battle just to inflate the like army complex, army industrial complex or whatever. It's just,
Well, dude, it sounds like Michael
like,
Moore.
I think Roger and Me is great. I didn't see that until a couple of years ago. It's his first feature. Great, great, great. Bowling for Columbine is an important and great film. And then after that is when he realized that he had this voice that people liked, and then he just started jerking himself off. Like Fahrenheit 9/11, while a good film, is just him attacking George Bush the whole time.
Yeah, and
Which there's not.
it's got no point now whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it means nothing. And Sicko, I didn't even see that. But now it doesn't mean anything because we have the fucking Obamacare. So I don't know. I feel like he's kind of a joke now. Like how they interpret, how they show him on South Park is how he is.
Yeah, or Team America.
Near Team America, he's great.
I think as a filmmaker, he's talented because he is, he's able to communicate these things to an audience, which are it's politics. It's designed to be spoken in a way so that we can't understand it, and he's able to communicate that to an audience. And that
he's also great at communicating his own message through the words of other people.
Yeah, so I mean, I will say he's a talented filmmaker. Am I someone that really pays attention to his work? No. I mean, in a political context, I usually hear about it, and if it's something that I feel that I personally, for my own politics, I need to see at the time, then yeah, I'll see it. But that's. Do I feel the need to see what you're talking about? No, at least not right now.
I don't care about this new film.
And even if I do see it, I don't think I'd bring it up on the podcast.
Have you seen Roger and Me?
No, I haven't.
Put it on your watch list.
Yeah, I haven't seen Bowling for Columbine either.
That's good too. It's list of shame material. But Roger and Me, it takes place in Flint, Michigan. It's about the American automobile industry. But what's important about it is that like Michael Moore grew up there. It's about people that he knew and his dad that worked at the factory and all of these things that all coalesce and are brought into prominence because not only is it an important story, but it's also a personal story. And so it doesn't, seem preachy like his other stuff. Like, it just really grounded. It's before he had an ego because no one knew who he was yet. So yeah, I think it's a really good watch, even though there's some very obvious manipulated scenes. In particular, just one moment where a woman has like her whole house repossessed on Christmas Eve.
I mean, that is something that Michael Moore does. Like I have seen Fahrenheit 9/11, of course. that's done in there, and it's done to pretty good comedic effect, even though it is laughable and it's so heavy-handed. Even Sicko though does that too.
Didn't watch it. No
Uh,
desire.
I you know I saw that back when it came out. I saw that in
It
theaters
was like
actually.
'09, I believe.
No, that's like 8 years
Yeah, it
ago.
was
I
like
think
'08,
it
'09,
was
I believe.
'07.
Was it
Yeah,
'07? I know it was high
'07.
school. I
Yeah,
just don't.
I was in high school. Like yeah,
Yeah, I knew I was in high school.
I think it was my sophomore year. So fuck. Like
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
yeah.
I mean, I saw 9/11 in theaters, so. So I only got like 3 more points here, and I got a big thing for us to close this out with. These are just quick snippets. Tom Lee Jones is going to be in the next Bourne film, which I don't really care about because I've only seen the first one.
You haven't seen the other Bournes?
No, I need to. Like
You
those are
haven't
on my
seen two
list
or
of
three?
shame. No, I haven't seen 2 or 3.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen. I finally saw the first one not too long ago, and it was really good. I was like, wow.
Really? That long ago?
Yeah, I was like, wow. I just never seen the movies.
Wow, dude, you have not. I mean, the Greengrass one specifically, for better or worse, they have a major influence on pretty much every action film today.
Like that
Like,
sequence
the
in the
shaky
Mini
cam,
Cooper driving down those steps in Italy or
so
wherever it
fucking
was.
good, man.
Really nice. Especially because like the car was actually getting beat up. It wasn't just like, oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of practical stuff in the other ones too, and I don't know how much of Paul Greengrass's work that you've seen, but it has that he's got that very cinema verite handheld approach to it. And there's a lot more of that in the other two, but it really, the way that he does it, it just really works. I mean, like I said, I think he's responsible for influencing visually just almost every single action movie today. Yeah, I don't know for other examples, like you know what I mean, just the handheld style. Winter Soldier, perfect example of that. I mean, yeah, I mean him and it's kind of like Michael Bay in a different way, I guess, just in a more serious way because Michael Bay is also one of the single most ripped off action directors out there, whether people like to admit it or not. But yeah, dude.
Wait, speaking of Michael Bay, did you see the 16
Bourne
Hours
movies,
trailer?
man. 13 hours?
Yeah, I didn't.
I did, yeah.
Are you excited? Did you get a boner?
No, no. I hope the movie's good. I mean, this is Bay being serious, and the last time that he did that, we got Pearl Harbor,
Which is
so
a landmark film in the history of mankind.
I mean, here's the in a way, I know Bay's sense of humor, it polarizes a lot of people, but when it's something like Pain and Gain, where
That
it's
humor
just so
was
obviously
awesome.
ridiculous.
Did
Yeah,
I
I
tell
was
you
looking
about
forward
the
to it right
shout out
away.
I gave to that film in the documentary I edited? Did I mention this?
No,
So
no.
I cut this film, the short film, for about 6 months, okay? And in the opening, we had like some cityscape stuff with some like Vox Pop interviews. And I was set on having, like, there's a shot where there's a bus that goes through the frame with a Pain and Gain sign on its side. I was like, I need to put that in the final product. And I was so happy I did when I finally saw Pain and Gain on HBO. I was like, yeah, that was worth it. Because I fought for that moment. I fought for that shot in the film.
Dude, I'm gonna have to see it.
Yeah, I'll have to send
Give
you a
me a
link.
copy.
I have to.
Yeah, I mean, but 13 hours. This is Bay being serious. Like,
That's not a good thing.
And I don't know yet because like, there are just some lines, like some moments in that trailer that are so like incredibly jingoistic that I'm having a hard time not laughing. Just a guy like just pulling by and like talking to the enemy and going, "Are you ready to die for your country?"
No,
Because
really?
I'm
That
ready
bad?
to die for mine. Yeah, and then there's just lines like, we got like
13
36
hours.
yeah, we got 13 hours and 36 American lives to say. Inflection on the word American specifically. So I mean, this is going to be super patriotic.
So it's either going to be the worst movie ever or one of the best.
It's going to be a Michael Bay film. Like there's no because he loves America. I believe that he loves to just hoard the shit out of America in every single one of his movies. This is exactly what that is. I hope because it looks good. Like I mean, visually it looks solid. So we'll see how it goes down.
Talking about looking.
But
Uh huh.
yeah, I mean it could be because there's a good cast in there. John Krasinski's in there.
Steal the show in Aloha. You can do in any movie, I guess.
Yeah, and I forget who else. I mean, like, and even the guy, like, I know I've seen the guy before, and I think he was in Age of Extinction, or he was one of the like underground like rogue military guys in that.
I don't know.
But I mean, anyway, as far
I'll
as
check
just
out the
looking
trailer.
at casting, everyone seems pretty solid. It's just knowing that it's a Michael Bay film. It sounds kind of ridiculous, but I love Michael Bay. I want it to be good. I really, especially after Age of Extinction, which for me it was just shocking that I saw a Michael Bay film that I kind of really didn't like at all, and just saw everything else
Well, I
that
mean,
other people
that's why we
saw
got
in that. Yeah.
the Ninja Turtles movie that made up for Age of Extinction.
Yeah, but that was produced, man. I mean, it
So
was Jonathan
the
Lethem,
the
and
way that
he's
movie was
he's
made, the way it was shot, like it could have easily been directed by Bay.
oh, it's got that aesthetic thrown in. I
It,
mean, Liebsman's one of his proteges. I think
yeah,
he did a movie for Platinum Dunes, right? Like,
I don't know.
yeah, he did one of the Texas Chainsaw movies. But anyway, what else we got this week?
There's like two more things I got for our final talking point. Uh, Chris Pine is pretty much secured as Steve Trevor in the Wonder Woman movie, which is pretty awesome. Because I know very little about the character, and he's kind of been rebooted when the DC universe was. Basically, Wonder Woman, she's a kick-ass superheroine, and her romantic counterpart is now like a secret agent, and he's like how she interacts with the government, like he's the liaison, kinda, and which is an interesting switch on gender roles because it's not the damsel in distress, it's I don't know what the opposite of that would be. Um, I guess, but I'm sure there's a better way to say it. But yeah, she's usually the one that saves him. Um, so I hope he signs on, and that'd be awesome because you look at him and he just seems like a great leading man, and he's
As
kind of
proven by Star Trek.
but I mean,
I mean, yeah, he's got good screen presence. I don't think
he's had a lot of misses.
he's not at movie star mode, but I mean, he's likable on screen. I think an audience, like, even if he's not a household name, an audience, they at least like him.
Yeah, but I mean, look at something like Into the Woods. He
Yeah,
had
which
great.
he was one of the best
Yeah,
parts in
he
that.
was good in that movie, but that movie was so bad, like even he couldn't save it. So I don't know. I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he gets the role. Um, more importantly, something that I'm super ecstatic about, even though I know almost nothing about it. Disney is working on making this movie called Bob the Musical, that Michael Chabon is writing and Brett McKenzie is writing the music for. I know
Is
nothing
it
more than that, and just
is it
that alone.
animated or
I don't know. I know nothing. That's all I
all
know
right?
about it. I know that those two things, and it doesn't matter. It has to be amazing.
Hey, after the Muppets, I'm sure that the music will be good. At
Well,
least
even
so.
if the music isn't good, I'm sure it will be. Michael Chabon, he's a Pulitzer Prize winning novelist who's writing a movie for Disney.
With Brent McKenzie.
Yes,
Yeah, that should be. I'm interested. Yeah, by all means, let's go.
I want it. Anyway,
It's coming, or it's in development.
I'm sure it's gonna happen, but who
Oh
knows? He,
fuck!
he
They
apparently,
gotta get past the big boss.
he had
But
a
let's hope so,
show
man.
in development at HBO called Hobgoblin. That's obviously never gonna happen now because that's fucking HBO. Whatever. Um, Final thing to close this out. Pretty interesting. I'm sure you saw that Relativity is going out of business.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
crow got yeah.
Yeah,
Is that what
and
you were bringing up?
yeah, which is interesting because like it looks like they need about $1 billion of capital to get out of the red, something around there. Yeah,
Ouch.
and like
Yeah,
they
they're
have,
dead.
yeah, they have things happening, or maybe it's a little bit less than that. I don't know the exact number, but like the Limitless show on CBS is through them. Some other show on network, I believe, and a couple other projects. There's that Jane Got a Gun movie with Natalie Portman, and they do have like an okay library of films. So so I'm sure the next week or so, when someone comes out and buys them, is going to be interesting. And I think that it could be a non-media entity because it has happened in the past with varying success. I'm not sure you know this. Coca-Cola bought Paramount in the early 80s. At one point, Coca-Cola owns one of the major movie studios. It only lasted like 4 years. But
I
think,
didn't know that.
yeah, think about how crazy that is. Like instead of saying a Gulf Western picture, it said a Coca-Cola picture for a while.
That's crazy. Do you know what year specifically?
I believe I could verify this right now. I'm gonna open up Google. I believe it was like 82 to 85.
So if I popped in Star Trek 2, I should see that.
Was that fall into that year?
That was, yeah, 82. That was Paramount.
I believe then, yeah, it should.
I haven't seen that, but no, that
Well, I
means
mean,
that it should say
it
that
wouldn't
for Temple of
exist.
Doom, right?
It wouldn't exist now, obviously.
They would
'Cause
take it out by
yeah,
now.
it would be retcon unless you have like a VHS or copy from back then. Sorry, it wasn't
What
Paramount.
years?
Wasn't Paramount. I was wrong. Columbia.
Columbia?
Yeah, it was Columbia. It was the 1980s. But yeah, so obviously Columbia was owned by Coca-Cola. Also relevant because it also is Columbia. Sony then bought Columbia and still owns them. And that's probably the best success for a non-media entity owning a conglomerate like that. And then the thing that I talked about outside of podcasts, when AOL bought, aka merged with Time Warner in 2000, which I still believe only happened because of the success of You've Got Mail at New Line Cinema.
Yeah, you love that movie. I
I
know
do
that.
love that movie. I mean, if I were to get my teaching credentials and I was teaching film classes, I would 100% have it as one of my days. Like it would be on the syllabus. You'd be like the
Just
you've
part of the
yeah
curriculum.
the You've Got Mail effect, and just talk about the AOL merger and what happened with the .com burst and all that stuff, and tie it into the film and how it's the ultimate kind of product placement.
Man, you know how
The name of the movie is product placement.
now you know how like yeah, I don't know if you felt this way, but I felt like especially during film school, like if we sat in during lecture, we'd always get clips of like the very important, like very famous movies.
Usually, yeah.
But then there'd always be that one film that no one has heard of or that just isn't that big that you just know is a personal favorite of the teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just talking about it. That would be that for you.
Definitely. Well, I think I would have a lot of examples like that. I was always bummed out that we didn't have any like pop culture class. Because I remember Dave, the first class we took with him. Well, you only took one class with me with him, but he had that questionnaire that one day. Who's like, they don't have like a '80s movies thing or like necessary film symposium or something. Because think about like I'm not even talking about like guilty pleasures. I'm just saying like pop culture necessities that people haven't seen when they're in film school. I remember my freshman year, beginning of freshman year, lending someone my Back to the Future trilogy because they hadn't seen it. Like, how are you trying to become a film producer and you haven't seen one of the landmark series in the last 30 years?
Dude, that was film school. Like, just in general, the fucking. I'd be in a class, teacher would be like, okay, who here has seen Jaws? Room full of like 300 people, and like 10 hands go up, and then they're like, really, guys? And I'm just thinking in my head, like, what the fuck? Like,
I always liked on
here
the
I was
first day
thinking
of,
I went to film school and I'd be surrounded like by a bunch of cinephiles like myself, and I was a total fucking idiot
Well,
to
we
think that.
did-
It was like high school all over
we
again.
did kind of go to the wrong film school. We didn't go to like a real film school.
We went to what we could afford.
Yeah.
Speaking for myself, anyway.
Well, same. But I loved on the first day of class when they'd go, okay, go around, say your name and what your favorite film is, and when people would be like, Step Brothers or Happy Gilmore. And there's nothing wrong against either of those
No,
choices.
nothing.
They're solid movies, but if you're kind of committing to getting a degree in filmmaking and you list your favorite film as something that not only came out less than 5 years ago, but its biggest draw is a song about boats and hoes, then you might want to rethink your career choice.
Yeah, well, hey, that's. I wish I was less of a. Just thinking back on it now, I wish I was less like just that snobbish like film buff of like, oh, you don't know that? Well, I know everything and blah blah. Like, because I definitely was that.
So,
Like for sure, I wish I was
nothing
less
wrong
like
with
that because like I mean, just thinking about it, it's like, it's kind of cool like seeing people, enjoy something like, sitting in a film history class and people are seeing Citizen Kane for the first time, and some are fucking bored during it, going like, "Oh, it's black and white," and some like are like actually kind of surprised by it and think it's cool. It's
And,
cool to
and then there's the guy
sit in
that
a
goes,
room with
"Oh, that's what that hand clap gif is that I see on the internet all the time."
yeah, or even something like Singing in the Rain. It's cool like seeing some because
Oh, I
there
love
was
that
that
movie.
movie where. Yeah, there was that movie for everyone. Like, we're just that someone just became obsessed with it right after they saw it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so in a way, it's kind of cool seeing someone's like love of film grow, and I wish I kind of approached it more like that way instead of being kind of a dick about it. Like, there's a lot of things about myself that I regret as far
I
as
don't.
how I approach film school, but yeah, but I don't know. Hey,
No, I
if Happy Gilmore's a favorite film of all time, hey, it was for me when I was like 10 years old.
I
I saw more stuff since then,
the,
but I can absolutely buy that would stick with you. Like, why wouldn't
the
yeah.
let me okay.
Step Brothers maybe not.
There's some credence to your idea that you shouldn't be a snob, and I don't consider myself one. But there are just certain people that bring the worst out of you, and I had one of those interactions with this guy, and I know he's not listening because he removed me as a friend on Facebook not too long ago. The reasoning was that I questioned why his best of the year list had like six, no, it had 10 selections, and then its honorable mentions were literally like 30. I was like, what the fuck? That's every film you watched. He's the reason why I took the time to start memorizing the Best Picture winners because, and I quote, he said, the Oscars to me are like the Super Bowl. And I was like, huh, that's funny because usually people that are really into football know who won not only this year but the year before that and all the years previously up until like four. And so I started doing that. But this guy was like grade A ass clown. I remember having lunch. It wasn't just with him; it was with a couple of people. And like I was talking to him, it was like the first time I really ever spoken to him. And he was talking about movies. And I was like, "Oh, who's some of your favorite directors?" And he was like, the list of all film nerds, like fucking, Coppola, Kubrick, whatever.
Everyone had a fucking hard time that everyone hard time. What the fuck am I saying?
Art Town.
Everyone had a hard on for Tarantino.
Yeah, okay,
Like
Tarantino.
I
Like
remember that. I remember
everyone
that
picks
specifically.
something.
Yeah, I remember that specifically for me though. Like my enjoyment of Tarantino just kind of went down. Like when people just wouldn't shut the fuck up about him because I thought the guy was great when I saw Kill Bill and Pulp Fiction when I was
By
like
yourself
13.
alone, yeah.
Yeah, like but I got over that phase. I still think the guy is great, but then, going to film school, it was just nonstop like, oh, Tarantino's fucking amazing. He's like, yeah, I mean, but, and hey, I still respect the guy, but I mean, that's one of the names, like, along with probably Christopher Nolan, that people just fucking hold him up on such a, like, massive, like, pedestal, like they're fucking god. Like, even Kubrick to some degree, which I'm right there
Kubrick to
with
a
them.
big degree.
I absolutely think like Kubrick might be the greatest director of all time.
Maybe.
But then again, like I don't know. Maybe this is me being snobbish and going, yeah, but I discovered him like way back into. I mean, that was my gateway when I first saw 2001. That was my gateway into like a bunch of more serious stuff that, or just classics in general, like I don't know, French Connection or Godfather. I mean, but yeah, Kubrick absolutely. Like, I would understand the love for that.
Let me just finish the story real quick, and then we'll try to have
Yeah.
a interesting.
Sorry.
No, no, no
Sorry.
problem. And so I had this discussion with him, or just it wasn't a discussion; it was a talk. And I was like, oh yeah, like what are some of your favorite movies, whatever. That conversation that most people that are into films or whatever have with each other. And then he said, oh yeah, what about you? And I was like, Spike Lee, Kevin Smith, Richard Linklater, and he was like, I don't like Kevin Smith. And I was like, yeah, most people don't. Why don't you like him? And he's like, I don't know. I was like, oh, what have you seen of his? Like Mallrats, Clerks, whatever. He's like, oh, I don't think I've ever actually seen anything of his. I just don't like him. And any ounce of respect I had for this guy was gone at that moment. And there's like other stories about this guy, just not an interesting or fun or nice person. And it's like, how do you say that about a filmmaker when you, for all you know, haven't seen any of his work?
Well, okay, yeah, you have no say absolutely in the quality of his films, but At the same time, I can see that how Kevin Smith would be annoying just as a personality, but that's a whole different thing.
It is a whole different thing, but I was like dumbfounded. I just went, what?
It's funny though. Like one thing I definitely couldn't stand is that when when I was talking to people about what my favorite films of all time were, a lot of people just like look at, and I'm sure that you had a similar reaction to this when you saw like I have it on Letterboxd what I consider to be my top 25 of all time. Or
I thumb my
just
nose at certain people's lists, not yours. I think yours is fine. But yeah, when I see
so
certain
what you
lists, I'm
so
like,
when you saw yeah, when you saw funny people, come on, what'd
no,
you
no,
think?
no. I was like,
That one gets people off like what?
I was like, huh.
Because
And
they
then I
say
thought
like
about it, and I thought about how much you talk about Apatow or you like his work, and I was like,
Mhm.
yeah, that makes sense. Like,
Yes, well, even that or Armageddon, though. I mean, it's funny just because I start with Clockwork Orange, then people are like, okay, right on. Eternal Sunshine, okay, Charlie Kaufman, Michelle Gondry, yeah, I mean, that is a classic. And then you bring up Funny People, which just completely comes out of left field
hey,
with a lot of
I got
people.
fucking You Got Mail on my list, so
Yeah, no, that's true. Everyone, I think a lot of people are just too ashamed to, like, bring up those movies that
I
they love personally, but, are hard to defend because
I
they're
don't
not universally
believe,
acclaimed.
yeah, I don't believe in the concept of a guilty pleasure. If you have a list of
No,
guilty
yeah.
pleasures, then you're not a real person. Like if you feel constrained in your personal likes and opinions because they don't line up with other people's interests, then there's something wrong with you. You're not supposed to have a uniform guidelines of what's the best or what's the greatest.
I mean, yeah, guilty pleasure. I honestly, I don't think that there is such a thing as feeling guilty for enjoying something. I think
Yeah,
that's total bullshit. I mean, even if I enjoy something like I don't know what's a fucking movie that most people like, or yeah, okay, like Ninja Turtles, for
that was
instance.
good.
We
It's a good
both
movie.
enjoyed it.
Most
I
people
liked it. I
fucking
had fun with that movie.
Most people were like, "Oh,
I
that's the
don't.
worst movie ever." It's
Yeah,
another Michael Bay movie.
and oh, and the story sucks, and the acting is terrible. And it's like, well, I'm
It's
not. I didn't go into it looking for high art. I just took it for what I thought it
I
was.
was expecting to have a
And
good time,
yeah,
and I was surprised by the fact that there's a Wu-Tang reference, and that the closing credit song was pretty cool, and that whole downhill like snow sequence with the big rig was fucking awesome.
I mean, yeah,
Like,
like if I'm enjoying something like that, it could be for, it may not necessarily be for character or story. It could be for simple aesthetic things like, okay, I like how that action sequence was put together in the snow. I mean, that was such a well choreographed scene.
my
Um,
qualifications for like any movie is, did I have a good time? Did I like it? Like, was it worth my time?
like
Like that's
it's
it. Those
purely
three things.
it's purely subjective. Like when you're watching a movie, all you can do is just react to
Yeah.
whatever it is that you're seeing in front of you and find a way to articulate what that is, whether you're enjoying it or you're not, when you're going to talk about it with other people. It doesn't, it's not like it has to follow like this specific criteria
I mean,
of,
obviously,
of story or character. Like story or character, I think that's the most immersive
uh,
way to get you sucked into a movie. Anything else, aesthetics or all that, those are all like little enhancements, which are great. But I mean, really, like whatever it is that's going to pull you in or enjoy something, I think if it's you shouldn't feel guilty about it, because if you find like one little redeeming thing, if I'm watching Transformers 2 and I find okay, the insertion of those two, like, the racist twin robots in there, like, is absolutely offensive. And yeah, I do. Like, it's tough to defend why I enjoy that movie, but I don't enjoy it because of its really racist and offensive humor. I enjoy it because there's other stuff. I like certain aesthetic things that happen there, and it just gets to me in a way that I really enjoy it.
like obviously, when a movie is released, who's in it, if it's cannon fodder, whatever, like if it's Oscar bait, that goes a long way in terms of how you gauge something. But if you hold every film on that same level, then what's the point of going in the first place?
Yeah, no, I
Like
mean,
I
it's
didn't expect Pixels to be fucking Schindler's List, Like I didn't want that either.
thank
Like
God.
that would have been depressing.
That's a really weird expectation to hold
Well,
down.
I'm just saying, like it wasn't supposed to be the best movie ever made, and there are certain people that go out there that anything that isn't of a certain caliber, if it's not something that's going to be shown on TCM or be part of the Criterion Collection, that it's shit. Period. Like there isn't a, you've spoken about this, the star system on Letterboxd. It isn't perfect. It's not supposed to be perfect, but it does kind of help gauge like how like I said, for me it's kind
In
of
a way, like,
enjoyment more than anything.
yeah, I think like especially for Letterbox, like the way that system is like, I might think Birdman is a better movie than Ninja Turtles,
Yeah.
and that's why I gave it a higher rating. Honestly, speaking for myself, and I realize like there's a lot of people that fucking love Birdman and think it's a masterpiece. I think I'm more likely to rewatch Ninja Turtles and get enjoyment out of that than Birdman. And
Uh,
that's yeah for
that's
me
fair.
personally, and that's yeah.
Yeah, I
Just
can see
because
that.
as much as I think it's really well written, I think the scenes are well constructed, but for me personally, I'm more likely to just be gravitated towards frenetic action sequences. Of course, if there was something on the table like Star Trek, J.J. Abrams' Star Trek, for example, I pop that in over in Ninja Turtles absolutely, because there's way more I get out of that. But I mean, just the rating system, I think it's like, and I put this on my front page too of like how I rate it, what I think each one means. I think that's more my own like objective criteria of what I consider like a film to be great. But I don't know. It's kind of a weird mesh of the two. But uh, I don't know. Am I putting this together well? I feel like I'm missing something
No,
here.
I get it. I mean, it
It's a flawed process.
it is. It definitely is. All criticism is flawed. Because at the end of the day, it's just an opinion. That's all it is. And the only thing, yeah, how people not interact, but how they take your opinion, depends on how your other critiques have been so far, or where you're published, or what the comments you get, or whatever. It can be a thousand other things. Um, but like, if you write something that, it doesn't matter how many stars it has or who reads it. If you write in such a way that it can capture someone's imagination, or in our case, speak about it, and that's all that really matters. Like if
Yeah,
someone can, uh huh,
or it's just like it gets this dialogue going, and
yeah,
we just we talk about the movie, or like what you and I are doing. Like I don't think we've had that breakout review yet, because we've mostly
it's
kind of
Magic
agreed on
Mike double
almost
XL.
everything. I mean,
That's
but I've
700
like
plus
we've sort of
listens. I'm just
yeah
saying,
we've acknowledged that we have different
700.
views of that, but like I don't know, there really wasn't much to
You
compete
didn't
with,
even
because
want
I
to see
understand.
that movie,
No,
and
no, but
everyone wants to hear it apparently.
yeah, but I understand the demographic that's being pitched to. Like, there's yet to be like a hardcore disagreement between us where we can like really share like in
Aloha is the
just
closest we've had.
completely polarizing. Yeah,
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 that's
but
the closest.
I'd say that's still early though. Like to me, that still feels like a rough episode. They're getting much the back and forth. I think is getting better.
I mean, it doesn't help that we agree like within half a star on everything.
Yeah,
Besides Aloha.
like pretty closely too. Like I'm surprised on Inside Out, or even me and Earl, we just agreed that closely to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
lately, yeah.
I'm sure there's gonna be something, like you said, like there's gonna be that one thing that's gonna be a landmark in our show, where it's like, what, like I'm waiting for it. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, how can you like this movie? Like, that needs to happen, and it might not. Who knows? We need like some color person, maybe, like I'm not sure.
I think having a third person in with a completely different viewpoint, if we
Yeah,
can get some sort of
be
camaraderie going
great.
there that's coherent and worth listening to,
I mean, that was the best
I
part
think
of
that could be fun.
that was the best part of life itself. Like when you found out that, even though Ibran Roper, or not Roper, I'm sorry, what was the first one? The first partner?
Gene Siskel, how can you
Yeah,
forget that?
I don't know. I actually
God,
never saw it
turn
at the
in your
movies.
critic badge right
I
now.
never saw it at the
Jesus
movies.
Christ.
I swear. I think maybe I've seen one episode, but when
Have you ever watched have you ever gone back to watch those specific reviews online
no,
or anything? No,
no.
because they're all if not like at least
I'm
most
sure
of
they're on
them
the
are all online.
RogerEbert.com. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and they're fun to watch.
But yeah, when you find out that even though these two guys, they disagreed on just about everything, like from attire to personality to obviously film choices, that even though they were like these vindictive people that hated one another, that they loved each other even more than like their closest loved ones.
Yeah, no, I mean they definitely they had a respect for one
Yeah,
another. That's for sure.
like there's power in angst, or like not oppression, but it. You have to care about someone if you dislike them. You know?
Yeah,
Yeah. There's a reason. Like there's a certain even it's not attraction, it's repulsion. There's still a reason behind that, and you have to feel a certain way. Like, hatred's more powerful than love sometimes.
oh no, what are things that we've? I guess Aloha is probably the biggest
I say
disagreement.
it was
Like,
aloha, but I mean you weren't. It wasn't. It wasn't even a disagreement on aloha. You're just like I'm curious to hear your side on this, and I
well,
couldn't.
because I was
And
expecting you to like warm up to it, which you did.
I mean I
You didn't
couldn't
like
really
praise. You
defend
didn't.
it. Like
No, you were just kind of like, I like it.
I do like it. Like I want to rewatch it sometime soon. Like I definitely had a good time watching that movie. I thought it was very enjoyable. I mean, obviously there's some weird stuff going on with the racial casting and some deep
Which was the
science.
last thing that bothered me.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently the whole world was bothered by it besides us.
Oh,
And then there were some like deep science plot points that don't really make sense in a rom-com. But besides like those two things, I thought it was a totally serviceable rom-com. And compared to something like Trainwreck, which is the total opposite on the side of romantic comedy, I much enjoyed Aloha over Trainwreck. Trainwreck was
I
funnier.
I'd go with Trainwreck just because but that's the thing with Apatow. There's a
Yeah.
lot more brutal
Yeah,
honesty to it.
there's more going on in Trainwreck.
Which,
You know, there's some
yeah,
interesting family
I
dynamics and
I don't
drama. There's some really good comedy. There's great celebrity cameos. I love basketball. There's some good scenes in there about it. Great
like
acting, but it's not a rom com, and I'll fight
it's really
anyone
the
on that shit.
it's really the difference between having something that's fluff and something that just tries to be brutally honest.
Rom coms are supposed to be fluff.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's a
I don't know. At
fantasy
the same time,
that it's a fantasy that sells the idea of heterosexual matrimony. Like that is the point of the romantic comedy.
fair enough.
And I mean, it's not just the heterosexual stuff that I like. Like I really enjoy the show Looking on HBO, which apparently is also something else no one likes because it got canceled. Um, so I don't know. Just
All right.
if it's about romance and it can make me smile, and they end up together at the end, I'm happy.
Wow, we're already over
We're way
100 minutes
over.
here.
Yeah. So
God, hey, if you're out there again, more Bollywood film recommendations,
did you get a
please.
recommendation?
For what? No, I didn't.
Oh.
The reason I saw Bahubali is just because I saw that it was playing near me, and I figured, okay, but why not? Just because I knew it was big, and it was a lot of fun. It was very crazy and very unique. Probably, not probably, definitely sexist
Like I said, just
in quite a
you
few
want to do
regards.
another
But
Bollywood movie? Watch Ghost World and just like put the scenes in there on repeat.
all right,
You can find them on YouTube
okay.
too. So yeah, I'm gonna send you this link. It's for the Indian thriller. I gotta send it to you right
All
now. I'll
right.
send
Well,
it to
here,
you
let's
right
close
now.
this.
Yeah.
Well, let's close this out. Yeah.
Thanks for listening. If you're still listening, we don't know. We'll be back next week.
We hope that our long conversation was entertaining. I had fun talking, man.
Well, I
don't
think
know
we
about
always
you.
have fun talking.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really had fun talking. We were really talking this time.
Well, now we're done.
All right. See you next week.